let's look at some definitions of some key terms regarding neurons and neural impulses or action potentials. So an action potential is a brief electrical charge that travels down the axon, right? We talked about that in the other video, that the neural impulse or the action potential goes down the axon. The threshold, we also mentioned that in the other video. The threshold is the level of stimulation required to trigger a neural impulse. So this neuron must reach a certain threshold, right? A certain level of stimulation in order for the message that it's receiving through its dendrites to actually travel down the axon and through that neuron. And then there's the refractory period. That's just a resting period after a neuron has fired, after it's had an action potential. And so while it's in that refractory period, action potentials can't occur until the axon comes out of that refractory period and back into its resting state. When a neuron fires, it has an all or none response. So that means it either fires or it doesn't. There is no weak action potential or strong action potential. It either happens or it doesn't. So for example, let's say you get a slap on the back and then you also get a pat. You feel both of those touches because those touches caused your sensory neurons to reach their threshold, right? The level of stimulation those neurons received was high enough for an action potential to occur. So it met the minimum threshold to fire. So those neurons are firing, right, or creating an action potential. Now remember though, a neuron's reaction is all or none. It either fires or it doesn't. So if a neuron simply fires or doesn't, right, it doesn't fire at a lower intensity or a higher intensity, how does our body know the difference between the slap and the pat? Do you know? Well, with the slap, you would have more neurons firing and they would be firing more often. So with the slap, you could say the neurons are going bing, 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 bing. And with the pat, they would be going bing, 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 right? So the slap was a stronger force. So you have more neurons firing and firing more often than you would with the pat because it was a weaker force.